They fixed a couple of problems. It sounds like they are trying to change the physics of the game and make it less animation driven, which I think in theory sounds like a great idea. But again, we don't know. We never know with Madden and EA. Again, like I've always said, for the PFL, it's not a guaranteed switch. If the game is better, we will switch. But if not, we're staying with Madden 22. But we'll have to take it, day by day as we get closer.
All right, so let's go ahead and play this commercial if I can find it here and see how it goes. And there it is.
With the goal of giving players more control over the games they play, we built a new foundation for gameplay in Madden 23 that we're calling FIELDSENSE. New physics-informed animation and animation branching technology provide the foundation for consistent, more realistic gameplay designed to produce a variety of authentic results on every play. FIELDSENSE affects gameplay in every mode. It comes to life in Madden 23 in 4 major ways through new control mechanics that we're calling Hit Everything, Skill-Based Passing, 360 Cuts, and Wide Receiver versus DB Battles. In Madden 22, you can predict the outcome of a play based on the animation that was triggered. Thanks to FIELDSENSE, in Madden 23, we can dynamically branch out of tackling, catching, and blocking interactions so you can change the outcome until the play is over. We've captured over 3,500 new animations covering an array of different interactions. When we say that FIELDSENSE gives you the control to hit everything on defense, we mean everything. Essentially, this new defensive gameplay approach gives you more ways to make stops from every position on every play. With Hit Everything, you can hit the pile and generally cause mayhem anywhere on the field in pursuit of the ball. And since all of the action is driven by physics, you'll see different outcomes depending on the players involved. As a linebacker, you can swiftly evade blockers or blow up blocks in pursuit of the quarterback. And with the addition of the new mid-air tackling system, it'll change the way our players defend the passing game. In the NFL, there's no one way to defend the pass. Sometimes DBs play the ball, and some situations demand that you get physical and play the receiver. With FIELDSENSE, Madden 23 brings all that action to life, putting you in control. Force mid-air knockouts at the point of the catch, lay a big hit on a receiver to force a drop, or push a receiver out of bounds before he can get his feet down. Hit Everything also introduces a new stand-up tackle mechanic that gives you the ability to control the result of 2-man tackles. A defender can hold up the ball carrier in an effort to buy time for a teammate to move in and make a play on the ball. Or, the ball carrier can break the tackle to gain extra yards. All of this creates a more authentic gameplay environment where you're actually playing to the very end of every play. We felt that in Madden 22, while you had some control over ball placement, too much of the outcome was left up to the game and not the player. With skill-based passing in Madden 23, you've got the control to put the ball exactly where you want, just like Patrick Mahomes. With this new mechanic, we're revamping our pass leading from the ground up to enable throws that you just couldn't make in the game before. With just a left thumbstick, you've got the control to put the ball exactly where you want. This gives you the freedom and creativity to really change up the passing game. You can drop throws into tight windows, you can place the ball away from the defensive back, and take shots downfield with accurate back shoulder passes and end zone corner fades to the pylon. You can place the ball on a corner route or drop it in on a deep vertical route, all with the same risk and reward of elite NFL QBs. Skill-based passing is a game changer for all skill levels. In Madden 22, running the ball using the left stick lacked total control. At times, players would get gradual banking turns versus sticking a foot in the ground and making a hard cut, leading to situations where you just couldn't make a play and pick up those extra yards. The new 360 cut mechanic in Madden 23 lets you utilize L2 and the left stick for more freedom when controlling the ball carrier. Now you can precisely hit the gaps as you see them from any position, whether you're a running back, a quarterback on the run, receiver after a catch, or if you're returning a kickoff or interception. 360 cuts offer total control. In Face of the Franchise, you can play out your NFL career at one of 5 different positions, including wide receiver and defensive back. And while the new 1v1 battles are available in every mode, this is where it really comes to life. New branching receiver footwork delivers more control when battling with DBs. We've added a whole new suite of wide receiver release moves and open field cuts that empower players to create separation from the secondary. With these new open field cut moves, you now have the ability to get creative and fake out the DB. To counter, DBs have new press mechanics so you can battle on both sides of the ball. How you position yourself as a DB is going to influence your ability to lock up a receiver off the line. We've built this year's game to empower players in a number of ways. And we're just getting started with a new foundation for gameplay through FIELDSENSE in Madden 23.
All right, guys, what's the good and bad of this? Same old, or something new?
Well, I'll say, I'll tell you this much. What I got out of that is, when did this come out?
It just came out this week.
So it's June?
Yes.
So they bailed on Madden 22, like that means like in November, to get all this new, completely rebuilt stuff, maybe even earlier.
Yeah, probably.
So they totally jacked us on the whole thing with Madden 22, just to say. But anyway, I see my first take on this. It sounds all great, and it really does. They basically made an arcade game. The ratings don't matter, because if all these things can happen by your skill, like your, thumb jockey ability, what does the ratings matter? If you could take, what's his name, Cooper Rush, and drop in balls and do stuff like that, why do you need Aaron Rodgers? So, I think the sim aspect of Madden just died, and it becomes a very nice thumb jockey game, which I guess maybe that's what they're competing for.
But will that affect us as a coach mode league over at Paydirt?
Oh, I don't think it will. But who knows? You don't know what the mechanics of the game are going to be. Like, because they, I don't know how they interpret. How do they put to use this new system? That would be, if we're not controlling it,
Right. Well, that's when I was the same thing. I was trying to analyze, or how that would affect coach mode game, right?
Yeah.
And so what some of the things that I heard there was like that wide receiver versus the DB battles.
Yeah, right. I was looking at that.
And we heard, and they were talking about like even the cutbacks, and then the different things that they were talking about, the way the defense plays, the way the defensive back plays defense, and so it may get down even more so, because in this version we're playing now, we do know that individual attributes make a difference. Just to what degree, it's hard to figure, but it may be more.
There's a play that I used to use with my Rams when Cooper Kupp was playing, right, and it was about 80% complete for good yardage. Cooper Kupp got injured, and it has not been successful since.
Right.
So I know that it matters.
It does matter. And so, what I'm thinking, I heard them use the word release, and so now I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Okay,
it means we're jacking up defensive awareness.
Right. Or is the receiver's release number versus press coverage, right? Is that now going to be a number that we all have to pay attention to?
Well, we'll learn that. Yeah.
Like if the guy doesn't have a good release number, does he just get jammed up at the line of scrimmage and he just blows up the play you know what I mean? So I don't know how that's going to affect coach mode, but I'm leery of it. It might be a good thing, by the way, but it just seems to me like, oh boy, here we go. Because at some point here, they could make coach mode almost unplayable, right? I mean, they could make it like you just can't play it. Very well. So we'll see.
It will always be playable, because it always comes down to your play versus my play and any adjustments you make on the play. They'll never take that away unless they make it where the quarterback won't throw the ball. The issue is that all these advancements, all these things that they're showing matter zilch to us. It's not relevant because we don't touch any aspects of this. It's great if you're playing it. I mean, think about if you're playing the game. You take Cooper Rush, and he's got a 69 throw power. Right. This game is telling you can do whatever you want anyway. You control everything. So why would I want to have Aaron Rodgers? What's the difference? Right. So in that sim part of what they try right now, again, another thing that they're trying to. Nobody makes a 180-degree cut when they're making a run. If anything, I think they got the runs kind of true this year. They caved to they cave to the 12-year-olds that want to have I can't make moves. They right. Made it more of a very the better running backs run better. The crappier running backs don't, but I want to be able to take,
Right. I have found that the running game with 22 is pretty good. People start concentrating on those inside runs, and you can still break the outside for a long game.
Well, Len, you did that a lot today.
I did.
The Broncos, and I was impressed with that. I have to tell you that because I hadn't seen. Who was your running back, by the way?
Akers is injured, so it's the other guy.
And he played great for you. And I was watching your game, and I was like, my goodness, he's doing these toss plays, and you're getting to the outside. He must have had 150, 160 yards.
He had like 170 yards. And the thing of it is my opponent was concentrating on the inside run.
No, that's what a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Because most teams, they run between the tackles. They don't run the sweep plays because
you run up the middle, it's a 1 yard loss if it blows up, right?
Yeah.
You run outside, you're looking at if it blows up 4 or 5 yards, right. And now it's 2nd and 15. So right. That's why most people don't do it. It's unless they have a certain play that.
But I'm telling you didn't see the game today. But I mean, I know Len went wide a lot. And,
I did.
And the Broncos never did adjust to that. Nothing against.
Well, he was too worried about my. I do a lot of draws from 4 wide receiver sets.
I saw that as well.
Yeah. And usually they work, balance. And what he was doing was concentrating so much on that draw. I thought, okay, he's blowing that draw up, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
Against when you got a nickel or dime defense in. So I thought, well, how is it going to go outside? And it went very well.
Yes, it
but
did.
yeah, I mean,
it did.
But compared, with Madden'23, with them, what I was trying to say was, I thought the running game was pretty realistic now. Like, you have the better backs, they move, they work. But you don't take like Rick Dwaddle and he's a 10,000 yard rusher. Right. But in this version, you're going to be able to do that if you're playing a lesser skilled joystick holder. I mean, obviously none of this matters to us.
No,
right?
Good,
but
good.
I'm just trying to say the product that they're trying to push out there, like they're making it seem like, oh, this is going to be. They actually went backwards, in my opinion,
For the people that play that game, I would agree with you on that one. But I just do worry, I have to be honest, how that may or may not impact coach mode. If you're not touching anything, I just don't trust them. There could be something that the program gets changed somehow.
Yeah.
And when we start playing it, we'll adjust. We always do, but
sure.
We just don't know what that is right now. So.
Do they add new ratings? That's the thing.
Right?
It's like do they have because at some point they went from you just had catch, then you had catch in traffic, and then you had run route, and then
do they have leaping ability? It's a new thing that we're going to get here that we don't know yet. I would suspect it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
I actually, if it matters and it actually calculates the whole thing is this is what I mean is say this quarterback throwing thing, which it wasn't really shown that much in this video, but we've watched some videos on it, and it's you have the ability to drop a ball in there, as they said in the video. Now that should be a skill. That should be a rating. If you're Cooper Rush, you don't have that skill because that's why he's not a starter in the NFL and probably never will be. But Dak Prescott should have a good version of it. Let's just say to do comparisons, so that maybe 1 out of every 10 times Cooper Rush throws it, it'll work fine. But Dak, it's maybe 6 out of every 10.
The whole thing is that I would expect new things because obviously this is a program, right? They have to program this,
right? And how did they change that much?
Right, and the only way usually they're not going to just scrap the entire program that exists. So to me, if they're going to make these adjustments, it's basically almost
like they are.
They're gonna you're either overlapping or you're gonna import new programming, right?
Yep. And
so something has to be added, in other words, or it has to replace something that's already there. So if you have an awareness, if you have all the numbers that you have now, and you don't substitute them in some way, right? You'd have to add stuff in order to get this new programming in. So
what they do is at some point they go, okay, Madden'22 is over. We're just going to fix it from the errors that have developed. Right. And now the main core is working on Madden'23. Mm-hmm. And so whatever they fixed along the way doesn't get implemented into Madden'23. because they don't bother to convert that. And that's why we get the same errors every year with the game, because they don't remember to bring those errors. It's like, when did it get fixed? And then you if it's early enough into the cycle, if it gets fixed early enough into the cycle, then it'll be fixed for the next version. But that's why the zone coverage always is broken at the beginning of September. Every year, if you go back and you look at it, zone coverage doesn't work. You can't run a cover 4 or you can't run a cover 3 because the zones are just one play touchdowns. And then somewhere mid-November they fix that. And it's literally every year, because they don't take the time to they should skip a year, 1 year, and just have a roster boot, and people would pay $20 or $30 for a new roster, and then the following season just take that game from there, and it would be complete.
Well, Mike, here's what they're doing. They've been working with an aging graphics and game engine for years.
You mentioned that last time. Yeah.
Yep. So what they're doing is they're patching it, knowing full well that soon they're going to have to go to a new game engine. And when they do, beware, because it is really going to be a mess.
It's going to flush everything down the toilet.
Sure.
Wherever you are, you're going to have to move with it. Whenever they do that, that might be one of the reasons why they're not doing it, right? Because,
right. Well, I heard they're going to the new Unreal engine from Frostbite. Right, Unreal 5, and they're in Frostbite right now.
It is pretty impressive. I've seen some work come from that, and wow, it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's a shame, because I thought they kind of had Madden 21 pretty well fixed, and then Madden 22 had all the same errors that Madden 21 had, and then they had to fix that. And by the time they fixed all those errors, they couldn't add the stuff that they wanted. I mean, let's call it what it is. They gave us crap. I mean, the coach stuff is garbage. It doesn't matter. It's just a tree for people to have something to do. It doesn't really. The draft is the same as always. The scouting. I mean, come on, really?
They pissed down our back and told us it was raining.
It's utterly worthless what they did. Right. And half the time it didn't work anyway, from what I've read. I mean, we never used it because it didn't bring anything to the table. No. So, they could have worked on the franchise mode itself, gave commissioners more abilities to do things, but they don't want to work on that aspect of the game. They want to work on,
Well, I think also that I'll be honest, I feel they probably really honestly don't want commissioners of leagues, to have too much leeway. They don't want you to sort of be able to tailor, their product to whatever, your league is. And
I will tell you what it is. And they've had complaints from people. And I read this all when we first switched over Madden 19, and there was shock and awe. People were like, I can't believe this is true. And what it was that the commissioner could go in and edit players.
They didn't want that.
And they didn't want that. No. And they were like, well, you can't allow a commissioner to edit players. It's like, no. What leagues are you playing in that the commissioner edits players to make? Do you know what I mean? But then again,
those leagues don't last.
I know. Right, that's the whole thing.
You learn that your commissioner's a cheater, and you go, not this league.
Right.
That's right.
I mean,
whatever. No, but I don't really have much of a complaint about this version that we're playing in right now. I mean, the running. Like Len, what Len just said a few minutes ago was something that I think that, it's kind of important. And then what you said, Mike, in response to that is, the truth is a lot of coaches, I'm one of them, I'm sure Mike and probably Len is too. Most of us pay attention to trying to stop the inside running game. And a lot of guys don't run the ball consistently out wide. They do, but they don't run a lot of it.
Right.
Len, though, today picked up on what the Broncos were doing. And he made an adjustment to his offensive game plan and started going out wide. And the Broncos needed to react to that,
right?
And they didn't.
Yeah,
it's like I'm sure I can almost see Denver going like, well, he's got to come back. He's not going to keep doing this. He's not going to keep throwing these tosses. Yeah. And Len kept running these sweeps, and I'm like, there he goes again. There he goes again.
Yeah.
And, but that's not the game. Okay, that's the cat mouse coaching. This version doesn't really allow you to just have, because we'd all be doing it if it were possible, right? You can't just come out and run one defense and one thing and say this is going to solve everything for everything you do against me.
That's the one thing that that is different from Madden 19. Yes.
Yeah, you have to really, you got to adjust all the time. You have to, you can change your drop. You can do a lot of things, drop, whatever you want to do. But you can't just come out now and just pick one defense and it's going to stop the run, like all the runs. You can stop the inside run.
But you give up the outside.
Yeah, and then if that guy wants to keep running to the outside, well, then you've got to adjust to that. And it starts to become, maybe let him run a little bit. And if he keeps going out wide, all of a sudden I snap on something on the outside, drop him for that 4-yard loss, like you said. Now
it'll discourage him after a couple times. Yeah. And that's why people don't typically run that outside run, because if you get dropped for 4 yards 2 or 3 times, then you're like,
you're in trouble.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like a sack.
It is.
So, puts you into that situation. And so, but, on the other hand, he wasn't really covering it at all. I watched the game, Len, and I saw this. I was like, oh, my God, he really is, letting the guy, letting you run wide. And you had a lot of success doing it.
Well, I had to change up my game plan. I mean, he was 2 touchdowns
you were going to
ahead.
lose. Right. You were going to lose.
I was going to lose.
I like that you could adjust. And then, Denver needed to adjust to your adjustment. And in this particular case, he did not. So, but I also watched, the Lions or somebody today, Lions-Vikings. And the Vikings had a situation with the Lions literally. Remember, Mike, I was telling you about this. There was literally nobody behind the defensive line. And they had the ball at like the 6-yard line and refused to run the football. All they do is hand it off as a touchdown.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it, And so a lot of us are playing, and no different than anybody else. And you guys been around a lot longer, but you do. Right. Sometimes you play in this game, you don't actually see it. You know what I'm saying?
No, but and coaches can be stubborn. I mean, take Denver for example. He's a very good coach.
Yeah.
His record proves that. When you're that good, you can go. Yeah, this is not going to keep happening. I'm going to slaughter this guy.
Yeah.
I don't need to change my plan.
Let's be honest. The Broncos. You play. I mean, congratulations, Len. But I mean, maybe you'll.
I ain't won it yet.
But I mean, he's beaten. He beat me. He beat the Chiefs, right? And I think he beat another team that was really good too. He's beaten 3 or 4 good teams.
Right.
And he has a really good win-loss record. I mean, the Broncos are legit. And,
sure. That's right.
He didn't beat you like he's beaten everybody else.
That's why when he asked me, he goes, well, what do you want to do? You just want to start the game over again? And I said, no way, dude. No way.
Doing that, dude. Of course he'd like to start the
game
I had
about a 10% chance to beat you, and there's no way I'm going to start this game over.
Well, but it wasn't, what I'm getting at, though, it wasn't a case of just pure luck. Like, sometimes there are games where things go really bad. The bottom line is that Freischauer is a rookie quarterback, because I was telling Mike about this. Freischauer is a rookie quarterback. I was waiting for him to have another game like this, where, it was one of those games where if he threw the ball, it was going to get picked. I think he intercepted him 4 times.
Yeah,
really?
He was susceptible to the blitz.
It's not happening, and so that took them out of what he's used to doing in the first place, which is, I know his running back ran for 200 yards, but that's not really what he normally does, right? Freischauer's played really well for him, and in this game he was throwing it, except that screen one was hysterical.
That quarterback does not like the blitz.
He does not like the blitz. Well, a lot of the rookies don't. They get, I don't know what his pressure thing is. I think it might be ideal, but that interception on the screenplay was something else. I thought that I haven't seen that one before. Mike, you had to see this ball. It bounced off. I'm serious. It bounced off every player on the field before Len's guy finally got it. Am I right, Len? Am I right?
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah, and then
I don't understand why the game does that. Just you know what I mean? Like
it's an animation thing.
Yeah,
it's funny though. It was really funny. And the next thing, Len's guy's got the ball, and I'm watching him go like, "Oh my God!" and he starts rumbling down the field. I think he got tackled at like the 3 or something. But the point I'm trying to make is that Len adjusted in the game, and because he made the adjustments, he got back into a game that I really thought the game was, for all intents and purposes, over.
Me too.
And it wasn't, so once again, and I know Mike and I have talked about this a number of times, that in this version, I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says, 21-point lead, they don't mean nothing.
Well, I think
those things disappear all the time.
Yeah, here's my experience. If it's over 14-point lead against me, it's not likely that I'm going to come back off that.
It was 14 today.
It was 14 today, and 14 I've come back on before. More than that in the second half is tough.
It wasn't looking good. Okay, that's all. I know it was 21. I think it was 24-10, and it wasn't looking good for you. And then all of a sudden, had those plays where he had the 1-play touchdown and you got a 1-play touchdown like the next thing. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be. And, he kept throwing the football, and he got those. I know he got sacked a couple of times, and I know he threw those interceptions, and you got back into the ball game. And so, next thing it's a 30, which, by the way, I don't know what your stats exactly are, Len, but I mean, my God, how many of these 40-40 games are you going to play in?
I don't know.
It seems like every one of your games is like that.
I just wish I had Cooper Kupp and Akers still, because they were a big help. Anyway, Mike, let's get a closing comment from you on Madden 23, and we'll call this a night.
My hopes are they fix a lot of our issues. I want the career events or whatever, the scenarios knocked out, because I think it's an unfair advantage. I mean, we can't stop anybody from doing them, so I'm not going to be super policeman and do that. So, but I would want them not in it. I have the switch off in Madden 22, but it doesn't matter. I wish that if they fix that would be one of my goals. And, a little bit more control for the commissioner as to, like, maybe I can reset the bonus and stuff like that when people make errors but I don't foresee it because it's something they don't care about. Yeah. But supposedly the contracts are a lot better and will be, a positive. So I obviously it's something. And my take on it is it comes out mid-August. We'll mess around with it for a month and a half. I'll start another temp league type of thing, see what people feel. Not guaranteed we're switching over. And if we by a little bit after Labor Day, if we feel that there's enough improvement, we'll switch. If not, we'll shelve it and move on to our current season isn't going to end until the end of September. And then we have the off season, which I think no matter what we'll be doing in Madden 22, just to keep everything consistent, so you can sign the same salaries and all that type of stuff. And then we'll move the players to Madden 23 if it works out, which will give me enough time. So that's my take on it.
Okay. All right. Don't forget to visit PaydirtFootball.com. It looks like it is martini time.